Although we have not yet seen the DEP's final recommendation, we can already see a deterioration in its competence.
I know this site, and I know this area, and I know another thing. You are not helpless. You are all impacted by this site. How many of you live anywhere near it? You all moved away?
To the people that have gotten cancer, to the people in our neighborhood in Village Way that have gotten cancer, and to the level of where, forget this cleanup. The whole fact is, leave the site alone. It needs to be left alone. Don't touch it.
Nobody knew what was going on in that little facility over there, what they were releasing, anything. It made me really angry. Agencies that are supposed to be looking out for your health and your environment find ways to avoid it at times because somebody comes in with the money.
I'm concerned about Bishop Tube. My daughter is a survivor of brain tumors. She had 3 brain tumors. And when we heard about what Bishop Tube was about, when it was open, it closed in '98, I believe. But while it was open, we used to smell things in the air that smelled like chlorine or something. And, you didn't think too much about it. When we start diving into what Bishop Tube was about, we found out that the TCEs is something that we're using, and the fumes, when they're airborne, can affect a fetus of a woman who's carrying a baby. And Liz was born in 1990. We smelled the fumes all the time. And then that connection about her brain tumor and the fumes from the TCs and from the factory got us to thinking, what this was all about. And really, the tipping point was when they wanted to put houses on a toxic waste site that was designated as a brownfield site. And DEP for 17 years had sat on it. And then all of a sudden our township changed the site from the zoning from industrial to residential. And the proposal was to put 280 townhomes on toxic land on 13 acres, landlocked land as well.
It's a bad spot because it's only one access road in, which is underneath a decrepit tunnel that was built in 1909 for the train. There's an oil storage facility property right next to this, so whenever they purge the line, you smell petroleum. It's just the wrong spot to put housing. I mean, if you saw the site, you have a railroad on the north, you have a railroad on the south, you have an oil storage facility, you have a creek, and then you have our neighborhood. And to put housing there just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
This is my town. I live here. I grew up here. My children live here. My grandchildren live here. And I owe it to them. If I have something from it, I got it. It'll come out later on at some point in my life, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it now, but I cannot, in good moral conscience, let this continue. And it seems to me that going at the local level is the only way to stop it. I mean, I've said, if I have to, I will be 90 years old and I will stand on Route 30 with one of those cardboard sandwich things, and I will say, do not buy a property in there because you don't want to live there. You don't want your children growing up there. And I've spent my whole life working with kids and protecting kids. And I will not allow anyone to live on property that I feel is knowingly that I feel is contaminated without trying to speak out and trying to let them know.
We are doing a educational demonstration on the Bishop Tube site for the public.
I am protesting the pollution at the Bishop Tube site.
Just to get the word out, hopefully people will start Googling it and paying more attention to it and realize that it's a bigger issue that we need to resolve instead of just letting it go.
And it needs to be cleaned up to protect the community, and they've known about the toxins going off-site for years now at this point, and all people want is to have it preserved as open space, and I don't think that's too ridiculous to ask for, considering what the people of this community have gone through.
It's important to me because Bishop Tube is right next to my neighborhood. I don't think I could live with myself knowing that I let a developer put property on a toxic site and people were living on it and could potentially be sickened by it. I couldn't just stand by and let that happen.
And I think the only way we're gonna beat this thing is if the community is involved and we have enough voices and continue to share our opinions and let the township know that we're serious about this situation.
This is really an education action, and our goal is to try to raise the profile of the toxic Bishop Tube site, the need to clean up the site, the need to protect the site from development that will inflict additional irreparable environmental harm, as well as exacerbate some of the problems associated with the current toxic condition, to alert people to the fact that they've got a toxic site in their community that the Department of Environmental Protection has been aware of for decades. And the thing is like, this is an entirely new audience. A couple of people are obviously aware, they're giving us the thumbs up, but most people we see looking carefully, right? Like, what is that? What's going on? So we really are accomplishing the goal of, delivering this message to new audiences so that they can become informed and engaged.
We're a group of neighbors and friends who have banded together, and we basically have three goals. One, we want it cleaned up as can possibly be done safely. We have concerns about when they do go into cleanup, having further contamination in our neighborhood. Two, we want the people who are responsible for this held accountable, because yes, it will cost millions of dollars to clean this up, and those people are still out there. Many of those companies still exist. And three, we feel that it needs to be turned over to open space.
Since I've studied the effects of solvents on humans, in specifically the brain, I know that the effects of solvents affect health when they are either at a high dose over a short period of time, that's called a peak event, or when it's a low dose repeatedly over a long period of time, and that's called a chronic exposure. And unfortunately, the chronic exposure is very dangerous. That's what our concern is, because TCE can vaporize. So it can be in the air, it can be in the soil when you walk on it or play on it or take your dog on it or play in the stream. This is what's making the community so anxious. There are so many ways to be exposed to it. And we're not satisfied to just ignore it and let some future generation have to deal with it.
It's been in the family for over 50 years. Just a little mom and pop garden center. And when I had cancer a couple times, so people asked me about my cancer. My mom has cancer now. My dad had Parkinson's. Don't know if any of it's involved with Bishop Tube. I know no one else in our family has cancer or Parkinson's. My daughter wants to take this over, and it's almost scary for me, just not knowing what's going to happen to Bishop Tube. Do I really want her to be around something like this? I had a friend that was up here for my first go-round of cancer, and she used to live in the village. She didn't know of a house along Village Way that someone in their household didn't have cancer. And that kind of started opening my eyes to it. And then somewhere in that point, we found out about, Bishop Tube and what's happening. And it really makes you think. I mean, Village Way is a lot of houses. And for a lot of them to be having cancer. That's kind of says a lot. My customers are not too informed. It's really amazing to me when people see my sign of clean and green, how many of them don't know it. When I was wearing the clean and green t-shirt every day, I'd have 20 people or so say, what is that? What is that? I said, it's Bishop Tube behind me. Unless it's really touching you and affecting you, people don't seem to pay much attention to it.
It's a little hard to keep people engaged. Well, of course, the pandemic, that's a big concern for people. Obviously, it's overwhelming all of our lives. And the ripples from that, people have children, people have elderly parents and people to watch out for. So that combined with the fact that there has been no recent news about this, it's sunk below the surface for people. Their awareness level has gone down because nothing's happened in months. The developer's been stalling and they've been doing their new plan and taking their time about it. So when there's nothing to report, people think nothing's happening and it kind of goes out of focus for them. So we need to make sure the neighbors are aware that this is not done, not by a long shot. I just distributed flyers down my street, which is about 80 houses or so. I ran into a neighbor whose backyard abuts the Bishop Tube site, and he was really happy to talk to me because he had not heard anything in months and he wasn't sure about the status of the possible development. So we kind of looked through the flyer together, and his big concern is if they remediate the site, how would they control the toxicity? How would they prevent that from getting into his house, his yard? He's got young children, so he's really concerned about that. And he said that he would be attending the Zoom township meeting. Even if 20 people attend the Zoom meeting because of that, and there'll already be our group, which is a large group, that's important. It's important for the board to see that it's not just our little faces that have been there all the time, that we've got new faces, and those people are just as concerned as we are.
I grew up on 80 Village Way in General Warren Village. My parents have lived in the same house there since 1965. As I hear the other people here speaking, it brings a lot of comfort to me, but it also brings a lot of sadness to me. So I have brain cancer. My next door neighbor who lived on Woodview died of brain cancer. To hear, I believe it was the Spoffers say that they have a child that has brain tumors. My younger sister died of lung cancer. My next door neighbor died of lung cancer that I grew up with. We grew up in, right next to each other. There have to be countless more cases that I'm not aware of. So I just wanted to bring some bring this to light to you that you are dealing with reality here of people's lives. I don't think, it doesn't seem to me like anybody's really understanding how bad it was there, how bad it is there. What you're dealing with here is life or death.
I just want to say, it's been reiterated here, it sounds like you guys want to just okay this plan and then worry about it afterwards. So, my question is, why can't we postpone the decision on the development plan now until the ongoing studies remediating the property are complete? You said you wanted input from the public. Everybody tonight so far has been saying, please don't do this. So I really hope that you are listening to what we, the citizens of East Whiteland Township, have to say about this.
The board definitely wants to postpone this decision and wait till all the environmental stuff is in. But the applicant will not give an extension of time beyond February. So the applicant's forcing us to take a vote of yes or no. So the option of waiting till all the information is in is not an option. We either have to vote yes with conditions to protect the environmental issues, or we have to vote no because we don't have enough environmental information. If we were to just not vote on it during the time period prescribed by the developer, it would become deemed approved. It would automatically be approved with no conditions at all.
Wouldn't that indicate if the developer is not willing to wait until all of the information is in, what does that say about the developer's intentions? That's all I want to say.
The township, unfortunately, has given preliminary approval to the developer, despite all of this going on, despite the fact that this site is so contaminated with dangerous toxins, and we all know it at this point. And the supervisors of the township, of East Whiteland Township, know about the toxic condition at the site and how dangerous it is. The supervisors have given the developers preliminary approval to pursue a residential development project on this site while it remains contaminated. We don't know to what degree, when, if, how this site is ever going to be cleaned up by responsible parties. It's really just shocking. But the residents and the Delaware Riverkeeper Network have been working together very, very hard to make clear to the supervisors that that's unacceptable. While we were not successful in our advocacy to get the supervisors to deny that preliminary approval, now the Delaware Riverkeeper Network has brought another legal action challenging that approval by the supervisors given to the developer. And you know, we have a very passionate, powerful community that is working very, very hard to protect the Bishop Tube site from development, to battle for full, fair, complete cleanup to the highest legal standards applicable of this site with regards to the toxic contamination, and to secure its protection as natural open space for the benefit of the community. Look, this community has been suffering for decades because of the toxic contamination at this site. We owe it to nature and to the community to protect this as natural open space.
I believe our township elected officials have become used to accommodating any and every request by any business, and that they are not comfortable standing up and saying no.
I think the supervisors thought that they were doing the best that they could, but this is part of the problem that it's been all along. Mm-hmm. It's always been the best that they could when they're fighting against a developer who's threatening to sue them. It's not about the rights of the citizens. It's not about the rights of this being a decent township for future generations. What they've never had before is a group so united. I think it's important to continue that because I think we do have a long way to go, but I think we are continuing to go in the right direction. It's the only direction.
To let something go on and on and on verges on criminal to me, but that's the way I feel about it.
If Clean and Green Bishop Tube hadn't formed, there may well have been an approved plan for 220 some odd townhomes on the site.
I will be honest and say that if it was just us as citizens putting this out there, that we probably couldn't do it because of the expertise that is needed to make sure that everything's being put out properly, to have the funding. So the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, we couldn't do this without their support, without their knowledge, without their lawyers. We've been slapped 3 times.